the Viking legend himself, Connor
Yeah.
Sorensen. Connor and I have fished quite a bit together, caught some big muskies together, and we'll hopefully catch bigger muskies together very, very soon. Actually, Barry and I were just talking about that on my journey home today. So, kind of making some plans for a trip to the big pond this spring. So, really looking
Yeah.
forward to that. What's up, Connor? How's it going?
Good. Just got done with my workout. Now I'm ready to talk about some fish.
Yeah, yeah. I did the workout thing this morning, so I'm gonna have probably a brew or two tonight, and just enjoy chatting muskies, and probably make frozen pizza later because
All right.
I'm living the batch life right now. Callie and Willow are on vacation and school is winding down, so I couldn't really sneak away. But yeah, it's been good. So I guess we'll start off with the initial question. How did you get into fishing slash muskie fishing, Connor?
So when I was knee high to a grasshopper, my dad would just take me down to the river and we'd fish for whatever ate a worm.
Nice.
And when I was a little older, they took me to the Spirit Lake Fish Hatchery in middle of April, and they had the muskies and pike in tanks. And they was looking at them, and they were the same size as me. I was like, wow, I want to get one of those at some point. And then a little while later, maybe later that summer, I was up fishing Spirit Lake with my dad and his buddy Maury, and Maury had one following his little F7 original Rapala floater, and it was like 40 inches, the biggest fish I'd ever seen in the water at the time. And then I figured out how to use lures, and I caught some pike at the river, and then I decided to go get some musky lures. So I mowed lawns and cleaned gutters and did what other random crap to get enough money for a El Cheapo musky rod and reel and some baits, and went to Brushy Creek in October, casting from shore, and I caught a 48 incher, and my life has been ruined ever since.
Yeah, a 4 footer off the bat will definitely ruin you. I was ruined before I even caught one. I had a pretty good one in northern Wisconsin. Follow river to sea, like the musky sized whopper plopper, because I remember
Hmm.
watching The Hunt for Big Fish,
Ah,
and
yeah, Dahlberg.
yeah, and he used those, and I was like, "Oh, I need one of them." So I got one, and I was throwing it in the middle of the day, high skies, flat calm, no wind, nothing, and had which I didn't even realize at the time how big that fish was for the body of water. But I mean, it was probably like reflecting on it, probably in that like 42 to 45-inch range, which for that lake in northern Wisconsin, like that's a really good one.
Hmm.
So that kind of just ruined me because I did the one thing that you're not supposed to do when you're fishing for muskies and they're following is stop the lure. Because I'm like used
Oh
to the
yeah.
bass thing, like frogging at the time. Used to frogging for bass. It's like, oh, he's right behind it. So then you just stop it and he'll suck it in. It's not how it works for muskies. It's
Yeah.
not how it works at all. Uh, yeah. Anyway, OG Andrews, what's up, dude? I'm glad you were finally able to catch one too. I'm glad that people watch the replays as well. Hopefully, I'm not hacking and coughing too much. I've been dealing with a sinus infection that my students gave me a couple weeks ago, so we're getting her done and getting her cleared out, hopefully. But anyway, so you'll have to excuse the random gargling and hacking and stuff, but so Connor, you mentioned one of the lakes here in Iowa. I've got my like questions down here.
Hmm.
What are your favorite places to go and target muskies? I guess we could start that with like let's start it with like not you don't have to give out bodies of water, but like places in general, like states or perhaps provinces. And then from
Well,
there, how do you prefer to target those fish once you find them?
go early, stay late, try it all, everywhere you go. Uh,
Fair enough.
uh, the closest musky lake to my house is 45 minutes from driveway to boat ramp. So, and it's a reservoir.
Mhm.
Reservoirs fish are funny. They're not like natural lake fish. Some, like early in the season, when during the spawn, some do, some don't, some are indifferent.
Mhm.
So, and then I fished in Illinois, Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin, and Ontario for muskies. And the only time I went down to Illinois, it was in the middle of March. And one day we got sunburned, and the next day we got snowed on.
Sounds
And
like the Midwest.
oh yeah, we got two over 4 days. That was rough.
Also sounds like muskie fishing,
Oh yeah.
especially in the pre-spawn. God,
Hmm.
pre-spawn sucks. Oh my god,
Yeah,
it's just the
sometimes it's
worst.
pretty good.
Well, yeah, I guess that's true. I've laid a lot of eggs, but this spring we had a pretty memorable adventure. I'm gonna try and start working on that here, hopefully soon, on the
Yeah.
videography side of things. So
Hmm.
that was a really cool day. It definitely made the like 2 hour and 45 minute drive home a lot easier.
I bet. Yeah.
Yeah,
Now, the big lake I go to in Minnesota, it's a 5 hour drive from my house. And I've laid plenty of eggs up there and driven home
I think
just
that's just kind
more
of the nature of the beast there.
more bound and determined to try harder next time.
when I said when I was talking to Barry tonight, he's like, "Skylar just enjoy punishing himself sometimes," and
Oh,
sometimes it makes me wonder if
yes.
you're just a little bit sadistic at times when it
Yeah.
comes to these
Well,
fish going up there as often as you do.
sadistic and masochistic. I bring friends.
Oh God! All right. Anyway, but yeah, no. Okay, so Minnesota. What else?
All the fishing I've done in Wisconsin has been on rivers in the fall, and we just put on waders or float in a 12-foot aluminum tin can or aluminum can, excuse me, and just pick them off in the holes. I mean, you see the leaves piling up in the fall. That's where the fish are sitting. Pretty straightforward. It's where the leaves pile up is out of the current, and I don't like
And the
walking on a
eddies.
treadmill for my entire life, so I'm going to get
No,
out of
I
the
mean,
current.
that totally makes sense. I just had to, like, think about it for a second because I don't fish rivers, so that's a really interesting thought, but also, like, really applicable to lots of not only musky fishing, but just fishing in general,
Oh yeah.
in terms of reading current. I didn't really start I didn't really start even really thinking about current or reading current until I got to college at UNI, and I was, like, trying to catch smallies out of the cedar,
Hmm.
and like, just having an awareness of what the current is doing, how it's funneling in places, and then just, like, putting yourself in the headspace of what that fish is gonna do when that current pushes food its way. I
Right.
think it's just a really beneficial thing just to kind of, like it helps you kind of internalize, I guess, uh, putting yourself in the mindset of the fish, which just it helps you for all the species, and like
Hmm.
just being able to anticipate what the fish is going to do, and it's kind of like that next, level of whatever. So whether it's the WWE meme of Vince McMahon or the mind blowing meme, it's like
Hmm.
putting those next levels together in order to make your time on the water more effective, more efficient, and
Hmm.
you know more productive, I guess you could say.
Oh yeah,
Anyway.
I've banged my head into that wall plenty. As you can
Oh,
see,
for
there's a
sure.
big flat spot right here. And yeah, so I've a lot of trial and error. I figured a couple of things out, and the more I learn, the less I know for sure.
That's kinda where I'm at with muskies, is, like, I feel like the more I learn and what conceivably, like, the better I get, I feel like the less that I actually know, because, like, everything it feels like every time you learn something or figure something out, then it unlocks, like, 3 other things that then
Hmm.
you've gotta dial in and figure out because, the conditions are always changing, so you've gotta just adapt to all those things, so
Hmm.
even if you figure out something on one day, the conditions could be totally different the next, and what you're doing is probably not it may work the same, but it may not work the same either.
Hmm.
So yeah. Anyway, so yeah, so you spend a ton of time in Canada, right? I mean, like you
I
spend probably more time in Canada than any other person from Iowa that I know.
ha, you need to learn more people.
I
Uh,
guess I don't know.
uh, I've been going up there for a couple weeks a year the last few years, and we usually one week in the summer and one week in the fall.
Hmm. Yeah.
And
So like, Yeah, so you do the summer program, kind of a family kind of vacation, and usually your fall time is maybe more muskie centered. It's
Hmm.
not that the summertime when I joined wasn't like muskie centered, but there's
Right.
definitely there's more distractions in a good way, totally in a
Hmm.
good way with like
Fun
family and friends and
distractions.
stuff. Yeah,
Hmm.
but so how do you decide when is the best time to go up there, or is it just like a thing where you have freedom in your schedule and so you go? And as we all know, the best time to be on the water is when you can be on the water.
Yes. Usually, with the big group, it's when everybody has free time.
Hmm.
And when I go in the fall, and last year it was going to be just me, and
Hmm.
I bumped into my friend Kevin up there, and he's like, "What the hell are you doing here?" And so we fished together for the week I was up there. But
You're talking Kevin Nash for the
yeah,
viewers at home, like one of
yeah,
the probably arguably best, if not one of the best, if not the best sticks that's ever hit the PMTT. I mean, just an insane
Kevin's Kevin
insane
does
hammer.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
but uh, and when I go in the fall, I usually try to plan it with a good moon phase building up or leaving, whatever works best in my schedule.
Mhm.
Um, Otherwise, I mean, the moon could be perfect and nothing happens. That's
Yeah. I've
what
seen
I mean.
that
What are you
before.
gonna do? Yeah.
Well, I mean, the moon is only one factor. I mean, you've got, like, a multitude of factors that are
Hmm.
in play. Like, you could have the perfect moon phase, but, like, if your weather patterns suck, then it
Hmm.
isn't gonna matter that, like, you're there whatever, a day
Oh
after the
yeah.
new moon. Like, that would be my preferable moon phase, is just, like, shortly after the new moon or shortly leading up to the new moon. Those are my favorite times. But again, if you've got high pressure, high skies, 0 wind, it isn't gonna matter if your moon phase is
That's
perfect if the other elements don't add up.
hmm like the particular lake we went to in Canada. It's really tough in a cold front since everything's so shallow.
Right.
And the first week I ever went there, first trip ever, I had four cold fronts in the week. I blanked, did not get one. Had five follows in the week I was up there. Could
Well,
not convert.
I mean, in those kinds of situations, I feel like those fish, they can just be patient. If they don't feel like they wanna have to move, then they really don't
Hmm.
need to. They can just kinda hunker down and just wait for the time to line
Yeah,
up.
I mean they don't need to eat your lures. They're plenty fat as they are.
Yeah, I mean, I often wonder about that too from kind of a philosophical perspective in terms of just like how often is it hunger based, how often is it like trigger based where
Hmm.
you're just manipulating their lateral line to the point where they can't handle it. Or is it a combination of both? I don't really know. I can't really speak to that, but
Hmm.
I think about the conditions too, the condition side of things a lot. And just like there are so many factors that generally will line up to either be effective or not. I think
Hmm.
about like 2 falls ago, it seemed like everything on the weekends when I was able to fish lined up perfect. It was like the moon, those perfect moon phases were landing when I could be on the water. We had weather systems rolling through when I could be on the water. Like everything was perfect and we caught tons of fish. And like last year, it was kind of the opposite of that, to where the moon didn't quite fall how it needed to on the weekends. And like we had a
Hmm.
lot of high skies when I was able to get out on the water and those those kinds of impacts. And maybe the weeds weren't where they needed to be. And, those uncontrollable factors, did we have a good fall last year? Absolutely. Was it the same, just straight insanity that it was the previous fall? Absolutely not. But like
Hmm.
again, it's those uncontrollable factors. Like I'm sure people have probably watched Ben and Brian's videos of our time here in Iowa. I mean, um, those weekends it was or that weekend we just got really fortunate. I mean, one of like that day that Ben just published where we got 6 fish and 4 of them were in a span of like 20 minutes.
Hmm.
You know, the town north of the lake was literally getting hailed on as we were filming that. Like, you can't control like those weather events that roll through and just turn on those fish, and you can't get control if it's going to push you off or not. So anyway, I guess that's kind of
Mhm.
the my 2 cents on weather and conditions and those kinds of things. Um, any places you want to try, Connor, that you haven't tried yet? I mean, we've texted and talked about it a little bit, but
I'd like to go to Georgian Bay or the St. Lawrence or Lac Seul.
yeah, those would be
Those
cool.
those would be the places I would like to go.
The only thing about Laxul that kind of gives me pause is there's just so much good water in that
Yeah,
area that
it's
like
worth it.
it seems like that. I don't know, just from kind of what I've heard about it, it's so expansive and vast that like, yeah, I'm sure that there are some absolute tanks in there.
Mhm,
But like I remember watching Jay Seaman's video from last it was kind of like the last summer transition, and he was there with, one of the best guides on the lake, and, they
mhm,
caught fish, but at the same time, they had to really work their butts off for muskies in Canadian lakes, and I understand muskies are muskies everywhere, but it just seemed like
mhm.
the amount of water that they had to cover to, you know, have the results that they did seemed like it was tougher than it should have been for where they were at, I guess, if that makes any sense at all. And that's
Well,
just from some random guy's perspective in Iowa. So,
yeah, you have to know what you're up against, and from what I understand of Lac Seul, it's low density, high trophy potential, and
yeah, that's I mean,
I'm
that's
okay with struggling for a week for one bite.
yeah, I know you are. I may not be quite there yet, but I know you're there on that one. Fortunately, you got most of the places you fish, you have potential for both things, other than
Mhm.
maybe the big pond, but outside of that, not, that's
Yeah.
just it is what it is. If you want to catch a world record, you got to go where world records live. That's just how it
Mhm.
works.
Yeah, you can't catch a big one if it doesn't live there.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's like the biggest thing that a lot of people don't realize is it's like, yeah, sure, you can catch 50 inchers in northern Wisconsin, you can catch them here in Iowa too, but it's like the amount of those caliber fish that live in our waters is just it's not it's not like it's not like in some of those other places in Ontario or
Mhm.
Minnesota or Green Bay or whatever the case may be. It's not that you can't
Yeah.
catch them here. You certainly can, but, like, the odds of running into that fish and getting that fish to bite and it being dumb enough to actually mess up once is
Mhm.
not great.
Like, for, opener this year in, Minnesota, I'm gonna be up there for 9 days, and I'm gunning for 1 bite.
Yep.
You and Barry can have everything under 48 inches.
Dude, I don't care as long as we're catching fish or on fish. I mean, I
Mm,
know it's not gonna be the same as last year just because things are markedly different. Ice was different, ice out was different. The spring's been different, but at the same time too, it's such a big lake. Those lakes are
mhm,
so big, it doesn't take I remember, last year when we started fishing, how stark the contrast was. Because like, the first afternoon that we were there, the water, was getting beat on by the sun, it was calm,
mhm,
and then and it was like, whatever, 65, 67 degrees, and then we got off the water and started the next morning, and it was so it wasn't that a cold front came through, it was just like the night cooled it off, the wind kicked up a little bit, and it went from
mhm,
like it just equalized, which when it equalized, the water was like, I don't know what it was, 57, 58, something like that, but it
mhm.
just goes to show that those bigger bodies of water, it takes a long time for those, the thermal element to really take effect.
Oh, yeah, like this time of year, your transducer might say it's 65 degrees, but that's the top, this much of the water.
Right,
You put your arm in there, your fingers are cold.
right.
So, muskies are naturally warm water seekers, so they will probably be in the shallows when this is happening.
Yeah, and I think that's an important thing too. Like, obviously, as musky fishermen, we're always very aware and cognizant of like water temperature and those kinds of things. But I think you got to understand too that when you see 80 degrees on your whatever on your depth finder in the
Mhm,
first week of June, it's not the same as seeing 80 degrees on your depth finder the last couple weeks of August or first week of September.
Yeah.
Those are very different things because like in that fall time, the coolest water is going to be generally. I mean, as water cools off, the density changes, it sinks, whatever the case may be. But
Mhm.
like as far as in those early spring, early summer months, early transition months, like you said, it's only going to be you know like right there, top 6 inches, top foot of the
Yeah.
water column. I mean, if you catch a fish and it's in the bag, like as long as you're taking care of it, you can literally like
Mhm.
put the fish lower than literally put the fish lower in the water column to where that wouldn't be a factor. Anyway, I don't know. It's just yeah, a lot of people get concerned about those things, so I think it's appropriate to address them from time to time, but also not get too crazy about it. Um,
Mhm.
we're all here for the same thing, and do our best to preserve the resource and make responsible choices when and where we can. So,
Mhm.
um, all right. So, Connor, you've talked a couple of times about just looking for one bite, and you
Mhm.
like targeting big fish, and I know that you like targeting big fish, and you definitely have a propensity to find those fish from time to time. So, like, what are you doing? What do you do to try and flush out those fish or find
Mhm.
those fish where they exist outside of like, um, we talked about like going where they literally live. So outside of
Mhm.
that, what are you doing? To kind of put your crosshairs on those bigger animals, just generally.
Um, so one of my philosophies, which I've stolen from like the multitude of other great muskie anglers I fished with, is that muskies generally I think are neutral. So I'm depending on the time of year, I'm fishing for neutral fish. So that means like all those muskie, like all the big fat muskies you see, they don't need to eat your lure. They've basically just had Thanksgiving dinner every day.
Mhm.
And after I have Thanksgiving dinner, I'm like laying on the couch not wanting to do anything. But somebody asks if I want a piece of pie and brings it to me, I'm going to eat it. So I try to use like slow moving lures that really just sit in their face a long time. Try to get them to go, but like it also depends on the time of year. Like in summer and the peak water temps, we're throwing bucktails, uh, chatterbaits, spinnerbaits, something that's moving, right?
Mhm.
Because they want to chase something down and kill it. But when that's not working, or if like maybe you just throw those during peak times when they should want to chase something down and kill it, and the
Right.
rest of the time you throw twitch baits or something.
Yeah.
Like
No, I totally agree.
like Saturday, I went out for 10 hours and we had 10 fish up. Uh, Good. We had 4 bites, 4 tough breaks, and then Monday we went out. We had 2 bites, caught two. Yesterday we went out, had 2 bites, caught two. So
There you go. Usually, like that's a good point there too. Also, just like usually you will find that the universe will equalize things in some way, shape, or form. Like if you get a couple like really good breaks, like you better be ready for some
oh
really
yeah.
tough ones coming down the pipe. Like I can think of like last year when I fished with you, like there was a couple of those fish. I think of that crooked back one. Like I
Hmm.
don't I mean the fish ate it. I don't know what happened between the time that it ate it and then we got it in the bag and it somehow was like hooked behind the head. I don't know.
Hmm.
But we got the fish in. Awesome. Celebration. Great. But then like fast forward to Canada and like I had that one just come unglued on the chatterbait right at the boat. Put the
Yep.
screws to the fish and it's like two head shakes and it's gone. And it's like, how does that even happen? So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's musky fishing. Good break, bad break. It is what it is. So
At worst, it's like half that you don't
yeah,
get.
yeah. But
But
I
yeah.
mean that's just fishing in general.
Hmm.
It's funny too because like I appreciate you allowing me to come along on some of these adventures and stuff. But like in Minnesota, it seems like the fish are different, and like in fishing with Brian and Ben too on some of his water, and then like compared to Wisconsin, and I mean it's like all conjecture basically. But, it just seems like those Minnesota fish are very aware that they are, like, ready to kill something, and I don't know if they're just dumber or they're, like, eating more because they're growing faster or what it is, but it's like sometimes those Wisconsin fish, if they're not, like, charged up, they're just like, "Whoa, guys, like, I'm not supposed to be out here, like, I need to go back to my weeds and get ready to ambush something."
Mhm.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's just conjecture, or maybe I just suck at figure eights and I'm just trying to justify it to myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, um, all right. So you fish a lot of big water, probably more big water than me. So what are some of like you talked about some of the Iowa reservoirs that you fish, or reservoirs like in Illinois that you've fished, which are generally smaller compared to like some of the bigger natural bodies of water you fish, whether it's like Canada
Mhm.
or Minnesota or whatever. So, like, what are some of the differences that you see between those places, and how do you break those down between the two?
Oh,
I know that's like a
great
lot.
question. So on reservoirs, and I guess yeah, that's it. Yeah, good, very good question. Anywhere you go, anywhere you can find current is a great spot.
Yeah, that makes
Anywhere
sense.
where you find multiple things colliding, like a weed line next to a creek channel with running water, or a timber line, or whatever it may be, a
Sure,
combination of things. Uh, if you find weeds, you find muskies. If you find bait, muskies probably aren't far behind because muskies don't go far from their groceries.
it's very true.
Uh, Otherwise, just go early, stay late, try everything. I don't know what else to say.
No, I mean that makes sense, I guess. Are there specific areas or seasonal things that you target, like basically to eliminate space on those bigger bodies of water? Because like some of them are just huge, and
Mhm.
it could be conceivably a freshwater ocean. So, what
Yeah.
are you doing to like narrow the scope and focus of what you're doing in order to make your time as efficient as possible?
Depending on the time of year, like if it's a cold front, find sand. Sand usually does good for me if it's a cold front. And don't be afraid of cold fronts. Cold fronts are big fish days. Little fish are slowed down because their small metabolisms get shocked by the cold. Big fish retain a little more heat, and cold fronts are big fish days.
That makes sense. Trying to think of times where I've caught big fish. I know one of my top 5 biggest fish was on a cold front day, so that was in the fall, but yeah, definitely. We got one bite that day, and it was the right one. It was,
Hmm.
one that was pushing 30 pounds, if not over 30 pounds.
I
So,
like those fish. Those are
yeah,
good ones.
me too.
Otherwise, one of Joe Bucher's secrets is get a topographical map and figure out what the water clarity is and shade in everything to what the water clarity depth is. And
Hmm,
the big expansive areas should be your big weed flats. And then the little random pockets that you see in the middle of the lake are your main lake humps of that depth that might have weeds or boulders or whatever or what have you.
it's an interesting strategy. I've never heard that one before, but, I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Follow bait fish like some shad based lakes. Know what they do, what time of year.
Mhm,
Like in the spring, if the shad generally, generally, right after the muskies, shortly after as the muskies are getting done spawning, the shad should start to spawn. So if you find areas where the shad are going in and the muskies are coming out, the muskies that are about to go, the late ones are
mhm,
going to go spawn, are going to eat the shad. The ones that are done are going to come out and are going to eat the shad.
right.
So that's a great place to start. If you're on a natural lake and you're fishing for ciscos or whitefish spawn, they go onto the main lake rocks, and muskies will go there in anticipation for the fish.
That was, you touched on something that I noticed was strange this year compared to other years, because it
Mhm.
seems like we had that heat up. to like the low 50s pretty quick, and it pushed a lot of those muskies up to do their thing. But then
Mhm.
it like stabilized at like 54 degrees for, 2.5-ish weeks, which I
Mhm.
feel like normally, most normal years, you see those muskies push up on a gradual trend. They do their thing as they're kind of funneling back out. Those panfish are starting to move up too. So like they have that food on the way back out where it seemed like the panfish this season moved up a little bit later than normal. And I don't really know. I mean, it didn't really affect the pattern too much as far as I know, but like it was just kind of strange because it just did it you had this like strange weird like dead period between those kind of two patterns, and it was just like there for like a week or so, which I just it didn't like I said, it didn't really do much to affect things on our side of things other than like, you know, could that be part of the reason why those fish were charged up so much? That one weekend because it was like you had that weird lull week and those fish were just kind of sitting there and they were hungry.
Mhm.
I don't know. So
I don't ask too many questions. I just know you got to catch them when they're biting because there's a lot of times they don't.
I mean, that's very fair. All right, so we got some questions. How many fish have you caught in your life? I don't I don't
Not
even know.
enough. Next question.
That's, that's the correct answer. That's the correct
I, I,
answer.
I don't know. Like for muskies, like probably mid 200s if you made me guess.
Yeah, I think I'm just like over 200 myself, like personally. As far as the boat, like in just muskies that I've been around, born witness to, probably pushing 3 at this point, but like 300. Someone's gonna be like in the comments like, "You said 3 muskies, that's not very many." Like, yeah,
Yeah,
well, I'm not an expert, so never claimed to be.
neither am I.
How many fish
Oh,
do you have? Like, as pets or just
yeah.
like, how species that we've caught? As far as species, dude, I'd have to add those up. Quite a few, but not as many as probably some people. I know, like there's some guys that just like love the. Like, there's one
The
guy that I met.
multi-species thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I met him. I met him on the Iowa River, kind of fishing the early spring kind of wiper run thing one time, and I still follow him. And he's like close to 300 different species between fresh and salt water, which is
Oh
just
my goodness.
bananas. Isn't that nuts? Like, and he'll like when he gets a new one, he'll like post it on Instagram and list the number. It's just crazy. But again, it's just whatever you're into.
Hmm.
I'm not into the micro program of catching fish that weigh a quarter of an ounce because muskies weigh 40 pounds or can weigh 40
Yeah.
pounds. And, you
I
know, you, that number usually is just what settles it for me. It's like, can the fish weigh 40 pounds? If you can check the box yes, then we move on to the next question. Does that fish eat topwater? If you can check the box yes, then we move on to the next question. And it's like, is this fish
well,
a muskie? And then it's like, yes. I'm
does
gonna
it
fish
have
for this
teeth?
fish. Yeah, does it have teeth? That'd be a good one. Good one to check off. Anyway, but yeah, that's not to knock on those guys. I mean, you just
Yeah,
gotta do
I
what you're
mean,
passionate
more
about.
power
That's
to you. I mean, you guys probably catch way more fish in a year than I do.
Yeah,
But granted,
that's
one of
no
my
kidding.
fish could eat 90% of yours. So,
I mean, that's a fair point.
and
That's a fair
their
point.
elbows and shoulders and backs probably don't hurt nearly as much as mine do.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not. Um, so Connor, we touched on this a little bit, but like, how's your season going so far? Like
Not bad.
you do the pre-spawn thing pretty heavily. Like, um,
Respawn was tough this year. Every time I could go, it was like blowing 50. That was bad.
honestly, for me this year, this was probably the best pre-spawn year. Not me personally, but like people around me had good luck in the
Hmm.
pre-spawn. We had Barry's fish, 2 fish day. That was pretty dope. Gus got one in the pre-spawn. That was neat. Um,
I got a few, but Barry was by far is still by far the winner with the big girl
I
this
mean,
year.
there's a pretty solid chance he's not going to catch a bigger one than that this year. I mean, let's be real. I mean,
Well, he
that was
has
a
a
heck
few
of.
days on a really big lake with some
I
really
mean,
big
that's
fish.
true. I mean,
So
that's true. If he's got the big fish mojo going, there's a good chance he could break that, which I hope that he does. That would be awesome. I don't care.
Mhm.
I'll film, I'll take pictures, I'll do whatever. Yeah, I'll
I'll
just
get the
cast.
net.
Yeah, I'll cast lures until my arms hurt. It's whatever. Like like when Brian and Ben were down here, I think we got 15 fish in 2 days and or 3 days, excuse me, and I caught two of them. So it's just
Well,
whatever.
it all balances out. Like my friend Jordan, he's netted a lot of my fish over the years, and I've netted a couple for him. Then we went to Canada together, and over the course of the week, I got one, and he caught like eight. So
It's just how the cookie crumbles
everything kind of
sometimes.
balances out.
Yeah. Sometimes it's the Indian and not the arrow, and sometimes you just got the mojo, and sometimes you don't. It's just
I think it
muskies
was.
are
I
weird.
woke up. I usually fish at the front, and he fishes at the back of my boat.
Mhm.
So I I knocked on the door first, but he got caught going to knock on it a second time. So
It could be true. Yeah, it's one of those things. Sometimes boat position does make a difference. Sometimes it doesn't. I don't know. I would prefer to fish like in an ideal situation, have a big enough boat that you can fish three dudes that know what they're doing because you're gonna figure out what's going on three times faster. I know some people don't necessarily like fishing with that many people, or maybe some guys don't have that many friends. I don't know. I half the time I'm surprised I have that many friends. But my point is that like you can have three different things rolling all at once and then that pattern becomes, is it a horizontal program, is it something that is pausing in their face, is it something that they want ripped in front of them, and
mhm.
sometimes too it's that fish wants something different than what the guy in front has or whatever. And you know yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you have thoughts on that. I mean, you've guided and done things, but
Generally, if I have three guys that know what they're doing, the third guy gets them.
really.
Yeah, unless the
Hmm.
fish are really active, then it's the first guy. The person in the middle kind of gets screwed most of the time, but
So that's why I only caught 2 that weekend then, huh? Okay.
could be because if the fish are active, the guy in front will get them, and if they're neutral, I mean, if you keep banging on the door, eventually somebody's going to answer. So the third
That's fair.
guy.
That's fair. That's probably why Ben got 4 the last day that we were down here. Or no, he got 3. Brian got a little one. Anyway, doesn't matter. I was just happy to put those guys on fish. They had a
Hmm.
blast. I had a blast. I got 2 really nice ones, so I literally have nothing to complain about. Other than the one that just, like, did a weird thing and it just, like, didn't quite get the bait. You'll see it in
Hmm.
slow-mo. It just, like, just it, like, missed the bait and and I, like, tried to set the hook on it, and it just I don't know if it hit the top of the bait and didn't get the hooks or what, but it freaked the fish out, and that thing just came rocketing out of the water, and that fish and I locked eyes, and there's just really nothing you could do, but, here's this 37 incher just hanging out in front of me,
Yeah.
and then he went back into the lake.
For
What do you do?
apex predators, they sure do miss a lot.
Oh god, I know. Like last weekend or I guess it's 2 weeks now. 2 weeks ago now. I don't know. I'm trying to think. Anyway, when Taylor was here and I was able to fish with him a little bit, you know, I got I got that. We got out one of those days and I was fishing a ridge and I had a 43, 44 incher. Like the ridge was rising and it came up and it just like right behind the ridgeway and then just like, oh, and there's just nothing you can do. Like the fish shot its shot and it just
Hmm.
didn't get it. And you didn't do anything wrong, but the fish just missed it. And it's like, oh, it's like such a good fish. Anyway, let's see. How late in the fall do you throw lures on those Wisconsin rivers? Been wanting to do that on my John boat around the Hayward area. Connor, I will let you take that one. You're the river
I
guy.
mean, until they start to bounce, or the season ends. I've heard stories of guys throwing their bait a little too far and it lands on top of the ice and and like the skim ice that's super thin and super clear. And a
Mhm.
muskie will come up and look at the lure and they'll just drag it off the ice into the water and the fish will eat it. I have yet to experience that, but I've heard other people of having such great luck.
That would be awesome. Yeah, I
Usually I
mean,
have the opposite luck and the lip breaks off my crankbait or whatever. But when I hit the ice, but whatever.
I mean, up in
Oh,
that area, I think I wanna say that the season closes is it the 1st week of December? I can't remember. I'm never up there at that point in time, but, that's I mean, there's so many rivers and estuaries and little things to explore up there that, like, I don't know. And river fish are dumb because they've gotta constantly be moving, so they've gotta constantly
mhm,
be eating even when it's super cold. So, I would say just get out there and chuck them until you can't. Um, in the fall here, it seems like 40 degrees is at times kind of a hard line unless you've got weather or something going for you, but, I mean,
mhm.
I don't know. I could also just suck at musky fishing, so there is that. Think of those Wesco fish being on suckers once it gets to mid-October and cold. That's a good point too there, dude, because, like, up there, especially late in the season, I mean, I don't know how much of today's angler stuff you watch, but I know, like, Hansen fishes up in that area, and, they were catching fish. They were breaking ice to go catch fish on suckers, so the live bait is definitely an equalizing factor, especially as the water gets cooler and cooler, um,
Mhm.
even if they don't necessarily wanna eat lures. So yeah, I don't know. Definitely utilize the sucker program if you can. I don't know, you got thoughts on live bait, Connor?
I've never caught a fish on live bait, but my clients have.
I mean, that's something. I'm sorry you haven't caught a fish on live bait. I think it's one of the coolest bites of all time. But here's the funny thing. Oh, no, I take that back. I've caught fish on live bait in the fall. I was gonna say I've only caught them on live bait in the spring and summer, but that's not true. I thought about doing it more this spring, but, like, every spring, I'm just like, "Oh, let's go. Let's get out there and catch fish," and then I, like, don't catch live bait at the, dock or whatever, so then I don't
Mhm.
use it, which is lame. But,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Oh, well.
Or so Connor, you said you compiled some baits, or like what baits did you compile to talk about tonight, or is there
Oh,
anything that?
just stuff I'm excited to use.
All right, well, hit me with some of this stuff because like usually I'm the guy talking about stuff that I'm excited about.
I saw how much success you were having on these, so I had to go buy a couple. The top line dipstick.
Oh yeah, those will work. Adam's a good dude. I
Yeah.
Actually, you wanna know what's funny is, his Twitch is one of the things that I've been, like, able to pull fish, like, between people and behind people with all spring long, so
Mhm.
that, I don't know, it's 6.5, 7 inches, and just suspends, and they just can't handle it sometimes. It's freaking awesome.
And
So
my
what
boy Bucko
yeah,
sent me some baits,
what 2 top
and
lines did you get? Or did you just get the one?
I got two dipsticks. I got
That
this
one?
one and a white one.
Ooh, nice.
But
So
if it ain't chartreuse, it ain't no use.
no, those will both work. I mean, yeah. So you'll just have to experiment with those because I know like it'll just depend on the blank because like some of his baits suspend really really well and some of them I mean it's just wood it's inconsistent. Like I was using one of the ones that I got this year from him and it sits really really good. But I've had ones too where they rise a little faster. Not that that's bad. It's just kind of user preference. Um, have you ever fished the upper Mississippi for muskies? Doing it the first time in August between Bemidji and Brainerd. Rivers are cool. Rivers are cool. I wish
Yeah,
we had more rivers to cool
I
fit
got a
or
49 out of the Mississippi in early November
that's
up over
awesome.
that way. Uh, I've never gone in the summer, but I imagine that they will eat the same stuff muskies and lakes eat over the summer. Throw some top water, throw some little bucktails and spinner baits, and
You bet.
try it all. Go early, stay late, try it all.
What else you got, Connor, bait wise?
I got some Duke's dozers, those
Yeah.
fancy spinner baits you tagged me in.
Yeah, you're welcome or maybe not welcome on
They
that
look
front.
very heavy duty, and they got
I'm
some meaty treble hooks on there.
oh yeah. He puts good stuff on there.
And
I
like there's
appreciate all bait makers who put the right things on their lures.
I
I
like
don't
how
wanna.
there's not a lead head for the fish to bust the spinner arm out of.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to throw these. I like
Yeah.
spinner baits.
Yeah, they're definitely beefier. Like, I love my growlers, but I think of those as just they're just a different kind of thing. Like,
Mhm.
I wouldn't use Duke spinner baits in the same scenarios that I would necessarily use the growlers for, if that makes sense. So, I didn't feel like I was betraying Thatcher too much picking up some of those Duke's dozers, I guess. Maybe I'm just
And
trying to justify it to myself at this point.
some musky attic stuff. They have
Musky
these fa-
addicts.
they have these fancy bucktails called barn burners. And
Mm.
they got a big blade and then a little
Oh,
blade.
okay.
And they've allegedly they've been catching some fish, so I'm excited to try these.
Yeah, I just recently got a bucktail from one of my good buddies that I'm gonna tease right now, and that's all you're gonna see is just that, and that's it. And I can't wait to check this thing. It looks so good. It
So the
looks so
musky
good.
attic guys also make a pretty cool spinner bait. I just don't have one handy.
Oh,
I've had
no
some.
worries.
I've had some looks at it. I have not had anything commit yet. But
Yeah, it's kind of just our water temps here. I feel like are just kind of starting to get to that horizontal program.
mhm.
I had one fish kind of follow the micro wagon dragon with a little bit of urgency. I missed one on the micro wagon dragon, but based on the teeth marks left in the swim bait, I don't think it was very big. Um, Pounder size swim bait and smaller ones. I didn't even know that. That's cool. I need to like look into
Oh
these
yeah, I
musky
have
addicts,
one. It's
guys.
called the meat wagon. Thing works
Oh yeah, you
great.
showed me that. Those things are freaking huge. I li-
Great. I love the name meat wagon.
oh god, yeah. I
Yeah, and I
think
got
that
some smaller ones too. He sent me those when I got the bucktails
the
barn
meat
burners.
wagon.
They look good.
There's some junior high level jokes that could
Yeah.
definitely accompany that one, without a doubt. I got this one the other day too. Thanks, Brady, for posting some juniors finally on the page. So I got
I
another
like the
bowfin
orange
junior.
belly.
The orange and the purple. It's just kind of different and weird. I just happen to be a little quicker on the trigger on this one than other people. There were some junior colors that I would have preferred to this one, but I think it'll work just fine.
Yeah,
And
I don't get too hung up on colors.
I really like these things. Just have some really unique action, and the thing that's really interesting to me about these bowfin juniors is it's like the profile is smaller than a reg dog, but it's like slightly bigger than a mid Dusa, and just like that little niche kind of profile, uh, accompanied by the action, is just different. I mean, they kind of just do like their own, you know, and they just kind of float, but they're like head down. They're just really unique, and I really like them. I think they fill an interesting niche, and right now, especially with some of our water around here being a little clear with the weeds up, I really like that they kind of get down just a little deeper. I mean, there's a time where I really like the mini deuces in the spring because, like, if you're popping it shallow, you can kind of keep it shallow and just kind of dart it through the weeds. But
Mhm.
yeah, 120 musky edition. Oops. Um, like as far as your boat that you're using. Anyway, do you have any of these, Connor, or not?
I
I
do
think
not.
I'll bring a couple of the big ones for Minnesota, and you can. Well, and I'll have I like one of these lives in my box at all times now. So,
When you Barry and I went, I got to throw one that you brought.
oh,
They look
nice.
really cool. They
They're
have
just they're
depending on
really
what you
unique.
do with your rod, you can get them to really hop.
Yeah, you were actually working it freaking better than I was, to be honest with you. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's throwing the big rubber late in the fall. Got to make it look alive.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I'll bring you one of the big ones. I think I've got one downstairs with your name on it or something. And
All
you can
right.
just If you get it chewed up, whatever, I'll get another one, or if you don't, then I'll just get it back from you. So it's whatever. It'll
I
be
know
fine.
Kevin wants to go to Canada in October this year, so I'm going to go suffer through that. Could be
Yeah, I
really
mean,
good.
could
Could
be
be
really
terrible. We'll
awesome.
find out.
Could be really beautiful. You got colors and you know, really calm and beautiful sun-soaked conditions, or you could have like
Yeah, I'm
ice.
assuming I'm going to get my teeth kicked in.
But you could catch a 50 pounder.
However, I could. I could get real big one.
It's very, very true. I think it was like Doug Wagner actually posted some videos to the public from his trips. I want to say to Eagle last fall.
Hmm.
Man, they were catching some beefy fish.
Yeah.
De- uh, I mean, just to be able to have the flexibility and freedom to go up there at
Hmm.
that time and do those things and just like rip rubber around and stuff. Like
Yeah.
super jealous, super jealous of that. Kudos to him for having the flexibility and freedom to do that. I mean, I guess, he's a guide, so you can do those
Hmm.
things, but yeah, but yeah, super jealous of that because that looked like a lot of fun, and it looked like those fish were just they're just hungry. They just wanted to
Hmm.
eat stuff. So
Oh
anyway,
yeah.
so Connor, you got any big goals for 24 that you want to accomplish this season? I ask all of the guys on if they have that. I don't know.
I suppose I catch more and bigger fish.
I mean, isn't that what we all just want to do at any point in time?
Yeah, that's. I suppose try some of the new lures I have instead of using the like five I always use.
It's we have a strange addiction, and I think I have it worse than some people. I really enjoy like the custom, like off the wall, just
Hmm.
random stuff that is just like
Yeah, I
different.
and don't fish the same spots all the time. Explore a little more.
See, but like the thing with that, I mean, yes, like obviously exploring is good, but like, you know, it's hard not to do those things because like those fish are there for a reason. And
Hmm.
they're there every year for that reason, specifically for whatever it is, whether it's bait, whether it's seasonality, whether it's temperature,
Hmm.
whatever the case may be. But like there's a reason that those fish are there. So it's like yes, exploring is good, but like you also have something
Oh
figured
yeah,
out that
you'll
you
have
can
your
lean on.
milk run for prime time, but like I just if I want to rip for a 40-minute boat ride somewhere
Mhm.
and just fish my way back, I'm gonna
Yeah, that's
try
fair.
something new.
Sometimes those
Maybe
things
learn a
pay
spot.
off.
Yeah, eliminate some water. Like I don't need to try there again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like
Yeah,
because like in Canada, you drive by and you're like, oh man, everywhere you look, it looks good. So
totally.
you need to try something. And
So
there's like some places I've just the rock humps in the middle of nowhere that I just jig for walleyes on, and I'm like, what happens if I throw rubber here?
yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I did that. There was one day in Wisconsin that I did that on the lake that our cabin's on, and I was just like, "Screw it, I'm just gonna be different today." And literally, the first spot that I stopped at, I was like, "I think that there's weeds here." I don't know. First spot I stop at, first cast of the day, catch like a 34 incher. I was like, "Huh, okay,
Nice.
I guess there are fish here." So I was like, "Screw it, let's keep running this new stuff pattern." Next spot I hit, I catch a 42 and a half on a spot that I've never really hit before.
Hmm.
Now, to be fair, I haven't really moved many fish on that spot since, so I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that there are fish there. The problem is that the spot is quite large. It's a large, weedy bay, so it
Hmm.
takes a fair amount of time to work. And like there's, it's
Oh
like
yeah.
12 to 8 foot, and it's like there's a big range of area that those fish can be in. But anyway, there's a 42 and a half there that day, and it just absolutely smoked the Medusa. That was awesome. At the very tail end of
Like
the spot, I lost like a 30, 32, 34 incher right at the boat. And I was feeling really smart. And then I went on to try another island spot that I don't really hit all that often. Lost the biggest fish of the day. It was probably like a I don't know, 44-ish inch class fish. It almost jumped into my boat, but it just got an angle on me and bent my hook out, and then I was really sad. Um,
Mhm,
and then caught a baby tiger on a the last weird spot, random spot of the day. It was like a 2 foot long tiger, but
mhm.
they all count. But it was just
I've
it was interesting because I just tried a bunch of stuff that I never tried before, and it all worked. And
mhm.
I've pretty much fished all of those spots since then, and I don't know if I've caught on any of those spots since that afternoon. It's just
Yeah,
so strange. It was like a calm, sunny afternoon, like, and the fish were just going for some reason. But
I
what's really weird is, like, the days leading up to that point, like, we had gone, you know, 6 or 7 days where we hadn't really seen or caught any fish, and then even after that point in time, I was out there the next afternoon running the same program, and, like, for the next 3 days, nothing happened. So, like, why it happened that afternoon, I couldn't tell you, but it did, and it
mhm.
was awesome. But then the muskies did musky things.
Yeah, they're
What
good
do
at
you do?
that.
What do you do?
Um, and some of those bays in the big lakes are the size of the lakes that you and I fish around
Yeah.
here.
Oh, totally.
So,
The
like, you could burn a whole day just fishing there
Yeah, I mean,
in the one day. So, like, you could. Some people's methodology is to put the trolling motor so you're going a mile an hour and just throw baits until you find an active one,
that's
which is
kind of
it's a great idea.
that's kind of the
Or you could go
strategy.
slow and try to get them out of there. Also
Yeah.
a great idea. So it just really depends on what you like to do.
Yeah, I've done more of the fast strategy at this point in time because there's definitely more concentrated spots that I can hit just knowing
Mhm,
that, just knowing that it's tough to find those fish as they're going in those
mhm,
moments, especially because that bay, it's a Wisconsin lake. It's not a huge system, but still, like that bay is probably one half or three quarters of the size of the 100-acre lake that I grew up on. I
mhm,
mean, it's a big chunk of water, and there's just a lot of good stuff, and there's a lot of random little clumps of weeds, and it would take hours to map it out if you were to do the, what is it? Gosh, what's it called? Where you just drive
the
it.
zero lines SD card,
Yeah, yeah, I can't think of what it's called. Live imaging or live sonar, whatever.
zero lines SD card, something like that. You
No,
just
it's like
where you map the lake yourself.
yeah, it's driving me nuts that I can't come up with it. But yeah, basically where you're mapping. You're auto charting. You're auto
Yeah,
charting
that.
the yeah, Jesus. Anyway, clearly it's been a long day, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it would take a lot of time to auto chart it, and then on top of that, like, the reality is you only get so much time to fish, and right now with a little one, that time is at a premium, so, like, it was one thing when, like, before Willow, when I had the time in northern Wisconsin, it's like, "Oh, the fish are going, I can fish as long as I want." And it's not that big of a deal. Whereas now it's like it doesn't really matter if the fish are going or whatever. Like I've got a
Mhm.
concentrated window that I can fish, and that just is what it is. Which is not like any better or any worse, but there's definitely an efficiency element of there, like in there, where I can't really be like, doop doop, gonna try this new
Mhm.
spot and see if it pans out. Like
Yeah.
it's just not how it works anymore. Yeah. So, Connor, any big trips for 24 that you've got planned out?
Mille Lacs, Canada. Might go to the Boundary Waters with Derek and fish around Crane Lake in September, and
Cool.
then Canada again in October,
Awesome.
and then back to the sadistic masochistic journey back to the big pond in November.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds
I
good.
might I might go to the river or to another Iowa lake or something to get a confidence boosting trip going. But
Nice.
otherwise, I'm just going to keep pounding my head into the wall.
Hoping for the WR. Um,
I just settle for just a bite.
what was I gonna say? Yeah, I feel really fortunate to be joining you on some of those adventures. I think it's gonna be an absolute blast. I
Oh yeah,
cannot wait to do it again.
100% chance of fun.
Oh yeah. Are you gonna come over and fish with me and Glenn this year, or are you gonna stick to your guns, or does it just kind of depend on?
Depends on what lake we're going to.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's the only bad thing is there's just such a limited time to work with when you're up there. It sucks.
Mhm. Like
Uh,
if we're going to a lake where they top out at like 48, 50 inches, I like granted I would really like to catch a fish that big, but I want to fish somewhere where they top out bigger than that.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. No,
Like you guys went out and had an extraordinarily good day,
oh yeah, it was awesome.
which is great. And while you were away, Kevin and I fished, and we caught like one more that day while you were gone. And we moved a big one. God forbid it bite though.
Right. I saw so many fish that day. It was stupid. It was literally dumb. Like they had clearly never seen anything like a ridgeway on that system before.
Hmm.
I mean, I had 20 some follows myself, probably 25, if not more than that, and then caught
Hmm.
two, lost one. It was bananas. It was super cool. But like you said, like, catching that one with Glenn, that big one, the 46, and him
Hmm.
saying, "Well, that's, kind of an upper level fish for here." It's like 46 incher is really cool, but
Hmm.
you
46 is
know,
big anywhere.
oh yeah, without a doubt. But at the same time, is that what you're coming to Canada for? I don't know. I
If we
was
just want to catch a muskie, absolutely.
I mean, I was tickled pink
Or
to have
yeah.
that one without a doubt. So I'm just
Hmm.
happy to be catching fish. And, whether it's with you, whether it's with Glenn, as long as we're catching fish, making memories, I don't really care. They all smell the
Hmm.
same. So,
Yeah.
you know, they're all fun. Even when you think
Hmm.
that little 32-inch squeakers are pike and then they eat your chatterbait right at the boat, whatever.
Oh yeah.
It's fine.
Hmm.
Well, Connor, I think that that pretty much sums up what I've got. If you've got anything else to add,
I'm out
I
of intelligent things to say.
well, I appreciate you coming on. It was a great convo. Looking forward to sharing the boat with you soon. If it'll be what in just a couple weeks, if not sooner. If we
Hmm.
if we get together in the home state, it'll kind of depend on the school scheduling winding down. But hopefully, we can hop in before then. If not, we got one on the books, so it'll be.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I know Barry is too, and it'll be a blast. So
Hmm.
cannot thank you enough for letting me hang out with you in the boat all day and not
Oh
throwing
yeah.
me out of it. I'll
Yeah.
net your
Thanks for
fish
putting up with
anytime.
my stuff too. Yeah.
And thanks for coming on and having a cool musky combo. But I'm
Yeah.
gonna make frozen pizza, and then I don't know, probably edit some videos since the girls are gone. So
Yeah. I don't know if
yeah,
there's anything useful on this hour conversation, but if yeah, you're welcome.
there's some nuggets in there. I appreciate. There's like been 4 or 5 people watching literally the entire time. So I don't know who you are, but I appreciate you, OG Andrews. I assume that you are one of them. So thanks for checking it out, and those of you who weren't able to join live, if you watch it later, thank you for doing that as well. I know some people like to watch them or listen to them in the car, so appreciate all of you. But Connor, thanks again. I'll see you on the water soon, and people out there, good luck this season. We'll catch you on the water. If not, drop a comment, drop a like, whatever. I don't know. I'm just a guy, just doing the thing, trying
Yeah.
to put out some info. So, hey Wayne, thanks for tuning in. Sorry that the fish swerved us again, but at least this time they gave us some feedback, and we knew we were on the right ones. They just were not in the mood to chew. So sorry about
Hmm.
that, but we moved some solid fish that day. I can't make them bite. Sorry, man. You probably deserve one of those bites more than a lot of people that I know at this point. But anyway, thank you all for watching. Catch you all in the next one. Peace out. Connor, thanks again.
You're
See you soon.
welcome. Take it easy, guys. Good luck out there.